The million dollar question that everybody wants to know. Which one's better, Apex or Take Profit Trader? Today, we're going to break it down.
So recently, Patrick Wieland, he put out a video comparing Apex and Take Profit Trader, seeing which one is the better prop firm. Well, you know what? It doesn't really matter which one you go with because he's affiliated with both. So no matter which one you choose, he is going to profit from it. Now, if you've seen Futures for Our Futures, that's where I get most of my prop firm news, so check them out if you guys haven't. But they put out a recent episode showing how much Patrick Wieland actually makes from his affiliates. So for Apex, he makes about $20,000 per day. So basically, no matter what he does, he can buy up a whole bunch of accounts, and if he wins, great. He could even blow up all those accounts. It doesn't really matter because he is going to profit from it no matter what. Now, does this guy sound like he's someone out for your best interest, or does he sound like a marketer trying to sell you more, get you to buy more, and use my code?
If you guys want to learn more, check out onlypropfirms.com for the best deals always. Use the code PW, get 80% off at Apex, get the 30% off at Take Profit Trader.
Even in one point of the video, he had to correct himself because he's under contract not to use the word bad when talking about these prop firms. But I'm not affiliated with either of these prop firms, Apex or Take Profit Trader. They don't pay me any money whatsoever. So I'm going to go ahead and take a look at these myself and let you guys know which one I think is going to be the better option to go with. But disclaimer, I'm actually going to flash a disclaimer up soon, but I don't think you should go with either prop firms. But just for this video's sake, I'm going to let you know which one I think is the better option. So here I have the numbers for Apex and Take Profit Trader. Let's talk about the account size. First of all, I went ahead and just compared the 50K, 100K, and 150 account for both of these. They do have other sizes, but I'll leave it up to you to take a look at those yourself. Now, for all of these, here's the profit target. Here is the maximum drawdown. So the profit target across the board is 6%. That is pretty standard. The trailing drawdown varies depending on the size. With the 50K account for both of these prop firms, they give you a little bit more leeway. So for the 50K, it is a little bit easier in terms of you having a little bit more leeway before you fail, but you still need to hit that 6% profit target. So if you were to compare this, like let's say in an RPG, basically you have more maximum HP, so you can survive a little bit longer, but you still need to do the same amount of damage in order to defeat the boss. Now, keep in mind of both of these numbers because later on you'll see that even though it helps you during the evaluation, it's going to come back and hurt you once you get funded. Now, going down to the cost comparison, they both have a discount right now. Apex has a 80%. They pretty much have 80% like almost all the time. So I definitely will not sign up with Apex unless it's going to be for a 80% discount. For Take Profit Trader, it is at 30% if you use this no fee 30, and this promo code will also waive the activation fee once you get funded. Now, I have seen like a 40% in the past, but 30% I guess is about the same as a 40%. Either way, the big thing is that they don't have a fee. For Apex, there's two types of activation fee. You can pay a one-time fee or you can pay a per month basis. Now the one-time activation fee is only beneficial for the 50K if you are able to keep the account for 2 months, but then for the 100K and 150K, you need to keep it for 3 months in order to break even for this one-time fee. So depending on whether or not you can keep the account for 2 months or longer, that's going to only make it beneficial for you. Otherwise, it's going to be better to pay the per month activation fee if you're not able to keep the account for more than 1 month. Like if you plan on making a certain amount and then just completely closing out the account within 1 month, then you definitely want to go with the per month activation fee rather than the lifetime. Now, looking at the cost comparison here, depending on how many months to pass, you have to pay a certain amount for each one. If it only takes you 1 month to pass the evaluation, Take Profit Trader is going to be the cheaper option, as you can see here. But if it's going to take 2 or 3 months, it does catch up because they do have a higher monthly cost, but they do waive that activation fee. So if you can pass within the first month, then that will be the cheaper option. Now let's go ahead and talk about the trading rules. So For both of these, the trailing drawdown is going to be intraday. For Take Profit Trader, technically during the evaluation is going to be an end of day trail, which is better. But once you get funded, which is really where you're going to be interested in, is going to be the same as Apex, which is a intraday unrealized trailing drawdown. Minimum number of trading days to pass the evaluation is going to be 7 for Apex, and Take Profit Trader is going to be 5. So both of them, it's going to take you about 1 to 2 weeks to pass. Now remember, you're not going to be winning every day. You're going to take some wins and some losing days. So you can realistically think like within 2 weeks, you can pass the evaluation. Consistency rule. You know, I hate consistency rule. For Apex, there's no consistency rule for the evaluation. So, okay, it's going to be a little bit easier to pass the evaluation. But really, you want to be worrying about when you get funded in the PA account, in the performance account. They're going to slap on that 30% consistency rule. And if you know consistency rule, the lower the number, the worse it gets. So no single winning day can be more than 30% of your total profits. But if you're able to find success with the PA account and go into the live account, luckily they get rid of that 30% consistency rule. Now with Take Profit Trader, it's going to be a little bit harder on the evaluation with a 50% consistency rule, but you know, it's 50%, it's not 30%, so it's much better. But then the great thing is once you get funded, there's no consistency rule. Okay, so here is the big mark on Apex. Now, I guarantee this rule was not here in 2024 when I looked at them. So it's a more recent rule in 2025, which is the 30% negative profit and loss rule. So earlier I said that both of these guys have gotten rid of the daily loss limit, but Apex technically this is not the daily loss limit, but it might as well be. In fact, it's worse than the daily loss limit, because what this means is that your unrealized loss, meaning your drawdown in one single trade, cannot be more than 30% of your profit. Okay, let's pull up the calculator and do some calculations here. This 30% negative profit rule is not going to apply if you're within the buffer. Both of these prop firms have a buffer. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But if you're under the buffer, meaning that you have a PA account and you don't have, let's say we're using the 100K as an example. If you have not made $3,000 in profit just yet, it's going to use this to calculate this 30% rule. So 3,000 times 30%, it's going to be 900, meaning you cannot go negative $900 in a single trade. So you can essentially think of this $900 as this is going to be your maximum risk on a trade. Now, previously, the 2% is going to be about the daily loss limit. So for a $100 account, you typically have a $2,000 daily loss limit, meaning before you could risk about $2,000 on a trade, but now you can only risk a maximum of $900. Now, it's not technically a hard rule, so you can break it, but consistently breaking this rule is going to affect not getting paid out, which is really, really important, right? You really want to get paid out. So you don't want to break this rule, meaning essentially this is reducing the maximum amount of risk you can take down to $900. Now you may say, okay, the more you make, the better this rule gets. Well, how much do you need to make in order for this to get up to that $2,000 limit? So let's take $2,000 and divide by 30%, meaning you have to make $6,666 in profit before it equals up to that $2,000 risk that you can take. So essentially, you're never going to get to this limit, because we'll go down real quick and we'll get to this in a little bit, but the maximum payout you can take for a $200 or for a 100K account is $2,500. So you wouldn't, once you get $4,000, $5,000 in profit, you will already want to take a payout. You would not ever go up to $6,600. So essentially, you're never going to get anything better than the previous daily loss limit. So this 30% negative loss rule is definitely really bad for Apex. So moving on, okay, can we trade news? Sure, Apex lets you do that. Take Profit Trader, no. +1 or -1 minute before the news, you don't want to have any position. No automated trading, yada yada. Account activity rule. Now, Take Profit Trader, you do have to make a trade once a week. You can't be inactive for longer than that. Apex, yeah, you can take a week vacation or take a break if you want to. but they also have more rules. They have a contract size consistency, meaning you can't be like, varying your contract size by a lot. You pretty much have to say trade the same amount of contracts every single trade. Also, this is kind of new too, a 5-to-1 risk reward ratio. You cannot have more than 5 times the risk for your take profit target. If you break this rule, then guess what? You may not be eligible for a payout. So, I mean, you gotta really be careful with this as well. Now, I don't know how this works if, like, sometimes you make a trade, you kind of go down in the negative for a little bit, but then it comes back and you want to get out break even. I don't know if that's going to count against this 5-to-1 or not, but they can always make a case that it does. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about, but probably the most important, is the payout conditions, right? Well, Apex, you do get 100% of the first 25K. Do people actually get there? Maybe 3% of people actually get paid out. But if you do, it's going to be 100%. And then you get a 90-10 split. For take profit traders, a little bit less is 80-20. Now, if you get to the Pro Plus, which is the live account, you do get a 90-10 split. The minimum number of trading days for a payout, this is going to be a big knock on Apex. Basically, you have to have 8 trading days, meaning you have to be consistently profitable for like 2 weeks in order for you to get paid out with Apex. And 5 of those days, you have to make at least $50. Take profit traders, there's no such thing. You make, some money on one day, you can request a payout right there and then. Now, here's what I'm talking about, where that, remember this maximum trailing drawdown? This is where it's going to bite you in the butt right here, because you do have a buffer zone for both of these PROPFIRM. The buffer zone is going to be your maximum drawdown. For Apex, they tag on an extra $100, whatever. But, which means if you look at the maximum trailing drawdown, if you have a 50K account with Apex, that means your buffer has to be $2,500, meaning you need to make $200 or $2,500 in profit before you can start requesting a payout. In fact, you probably want to make more than that, because that buffer, they want you to keep that buffer in your account. So you have to make more than that in order for you to be eligible to make a payout request. So if you go with the 100K or even the 150K account, yeah, I mean, these numbers may be a little bit more, but percent wise, you have to make less of a percent in order for you to actually request a payout. Then, of course, the minimum account balance, pretty much the same. That's pretty standard. Now, the payout limit, you have a max payout limit with Apex. This is going to apply for the first 5 payouts, which, I mean, let's be honest, like whoever, how many people actually gets to their first payout? They also have a minimum pay amount of $500. So if you don't make at least $500, you can't request a payout. Now, luckily, $500 can come from that buffer zone. For take profit trader, you have to be above the buffer. I mean, if you want to take within the buffer, pretty much you have to liquidate your account, and you only get like 50% in the buffer. You don't get that 80-20 split unless you have, I think it was like 90 days or something. You have to have the account for 90 days. But you pretty much have to be above the buffer in order to request. There is no payout minimum. However, if it is going to be less than $250, they do charge you a $50 fee. So that's going to basically take it off of that $250, meaning you're going to make even less money. So overall, which one do I think is better? Well, I mean, obviously, Take Profit Trader has a lot less rules. If you could pass in the first month, it's going to be a lot cheaper. So with all these benefits, I mean, like I said before, I don't really rep any PROPFIRM, and I don't recommend any PROPFIRM. I personally don't trade with PROPFIRM. I trade with my own real money in a real money brokerage account. But between Apex and Take Profit Trader, and of course there are other PROPFIRMs out there, but between this, I think the obvious choice is Take Profit Trader. Apex just has too many rules. They just you may trade and they don't, you don't break a rule, but maybe you go under this, and then at the end you request payout and they say, oh, guess what? We reviewed your account. You broke this rule, no payout for you. And I even heard stories where people, they don't even know what rule they break and they don't get a payout. They deny you a payout. You have to record your trades to prove everything. So I never really heard that with Take Profit Trader. Now, there may be some instances, but I haven't heard that. So far, it hasn't really been that big of a deal. But between these two, I would say Take Profit Trader is the obvious choice. Now, before you even trade prop firm, you've got to be consistent. You got to be able to prove that you're profitable to yourself. So if you can't pass within 1 month, I would say don't even think about going with a prop firm. So that's it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for sticking around to the very end. And if you like this video, please give this video a like. Subscribe if you haven't done so. I got more other content. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. And until I see you guys next time, safe trading.